Welcome back. This is episode 134, and this is a special one because we've actually done some rebranding. You may have realized on our podcast, we are now calling this the Getting to Know Denver podcast. And the reason is because that's what we talk about. We talk about the Denver metro area. We talk about, all the things that you can do here for fun, real estate here in the area, and how it relates to each other. And so if you're a local here in Denver, you may find this very interesting, right? And discover new hotspots and different places to go and know more about neighborhoods, about pricing in neighborhoods, strategy in real estate, and that sort of thing. So that's what we're all about. And we're going forward with that new branding. And so today, we're going to talk about the home buying process here in Denver and what it's like when some people really understand the numbers going into a contract and a sales process, but a lot of people just look at price, and that's the only thing that they pay attention to. And so today, we're going to talk about some of those other numbers that might be very important to pay attention to before you get too deep into the home purchase process. So we'll open it up and talk about some of those very important numbers that you should know before you start and begin this journey.
Okay, so the first one is debt to income ratio. So after talking to a lender kind of like looks at, let's say, credit card debt, car debt, college debt, just kind of the debt that you have. And then they look at how much money you make and based off of that, see what you can actually afford. So that's how they get the debt to income number.
Yeah. And good debt to income ratio numbers, they range, right? So people love conventional financing, they'll go all the way up to a 42% typically. And then FHA financing will go all the way up to 50 and even higher in some cases. And so there's definitely it's a super healthy spot to be if you're 30% debt to income ratio or lower. That means you're probably not going to be house poor. You're probably going to be in a very good spot where you can still enjoy your lifestyle and do things that are fun, travel maybe, stuff like that, and own a home, right? So that's really what that's all about.
And just what do you mean by that? 42%, 30%? You're talking about your payment for the home is 30% of your debt to income ratio?
Yeah, good call. So you literally divide all of your income that you have, all money that's coming in, divided by the debt that you have, and then divide that by 12. So it's a monthly budget for how much your income relates to your debt.
Minus the debt.
Yeah.
Not divided by.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's what I meant. Yeah. Good catch. Yep. So that's how that works. And there's a lot of people that are buying right at, the 40% mark or 42% mark. And in some cases, it's okay because not all of your income can be qualified. Mm-hmm. So I know people, I hope I'm not crossing any lines, but when we helped your sister through her home buying process, she taught piano lessons at home. None of that counted because it wasn't consistent seasoned income. It was consistent, but it just wasn't seasoned by the lender. And so they weren't able to count that income, even though it was coming in. It was actually pretty significant for her. Mm-hmm. And so they were right at the top of their debt to income ratio when they bought their first house. But because they had additional income coming in, they felt okay about it. And we were comfortable, putting them in that situation. So I don't know why that one came to mind, but that's
it's a good example.
Yeah, pulling that out of the archives 10 yeyears ago.
And more. What recommendation do you guys have? Because I feel sometimes the lender could say, hey, you qualify,
mm-hmm.
Here's your debt to income ratio. You qualify for this. Obviously, if you want to hit that number, then you might be kind of in a sticky situation. Or if you have other income, then maybe you're not in a sticky situation. But What would you recommend, based off the number they give you and the number that you should actually go with, if that makes sense?
Yeah, there's a limit, right? So you want to just give yourself some wiggle room. Even if you're in the upper 30s, you're probably going to be better off than if you're pushing right at 42 or 44%, something like that. So I think just having a little bit of wiggle room. But I think the biggest thing is look at your other expenses in life. What do you like to do? How much are groceries? How much is gas right now? Really high right now. Those things you have to factor in, what is your life costing you? And then make sure that the math adds up and that you're not putting yourself in a situation where you're going over budget every month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just make sure you plan ahead as well. Because if you don't have kids and you plan to have kids, that gets really expensive and it's going to take up your expenses as well. Not that that's included in your debt to income ratio, but there's always expenses that aren't necessarily included in your debt to income ratio. It's pretty important to understand. So like groceries and gas and all this other stuff. And living in Colorado right now, it can be a little bit more expensive. And then everything just changes as you move forward in the future. So just have a plan. And understand that rates will fluctuate up and down and stuff. So like refinancing can be an option, but sometimes it's not the best time to do it. But yeah, understanding your debt to income ratio and not being house poor, that's the key for now and the future. So
another thing that I think we should focus on is mortgage interest rates. And some reasons why rates matter are because they affect your monthly payments, loan affordability, and overall just the long-term cost of the loan. So with these, they look like small percentages, but a slight change can change your payment by thousands of dollars since we're working with big numbers here. And then another point I just wanted to add is, yes, the rates are important, but also if you wait for the rates to drop, but then all the market prices go up, it's going to kind of level out the payments, I guess, in that way. So just be mindful of that when looking for a home. The rates are important, but not everything, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about it, like, I don't think most, especially first-time home buyers that haven't bought a house yet, a lot of them think the interest rates are just like something that's like just another thing to factor in. But it's kind of a big deal. Like when 1% change in an interest, like in an interest rate goes from 6 to 5%, that makes about a $400 payment difference on a $650,000 home. So that's what you're looking at. And I mean, $400 every single month adds up, to a pretty hefty amount. It's like $3,600 a year. So that's a lot to think about. And if it's 2%, that's double every year. Your income just went up or your expense just went down, however you want to look at it. But interest rates, you lock into that rate and for as long as you hold the loan. But a lot of people, and that's why most people don't hold their mortgage rate for 30 years, right? Even though it's 30 years fixed, most people get out of it on average in like 5 to 6 years. And it's because when rates fluctuate and go down, people just jump on those opportunities to lower their payment. And so one thing I think is a good idea, if you can afford it, is like when the rates go down and you lock in a payment, pick the term that you want to pick. So like if it's 5 years into your 30-year loan, go get a 25-year loan at that rate. So now you just lowered your interest rate, but you're 5 years into your loan still, and you didn't reset the clock to start over again. Because every time you start over, you're paying the lender way more money because the amortization schedule, or like the schedule of the entire payment over 30 years, has more interest being paid up front and less principal or money going back to the homeowner or the borrower. But then that gets better every month. Your principal goes up and your interest goes down throughout the course of the 360 months that you own that loan. So it's really important to try to keep that term as low as you can, and cut off term. Sometimes that's even more important than lowering your interest rate, in my opinion. So,
yeah, another big one is down payment. I actually did a video, I was in downtown Parker, and I was asking people what they think a down payment on a house is. And some people just threw out like 50,000, 100,000. Most people who said a percent said 20%. I think the lowest that I heard was 10%. So I think it's a very common misconception that people think you have to have a larger down payment than you may actually need to have.
Yeah.
So typically a down payment, if it's going to be your principal residence, is going to be 3.5% to 5% down. 20% down is if you're buying like an investment property or an additional property. So the key thing there is obviously you want to have an emergency fund. You don't want to drain your account with your closing costs and with the down payment. And then another thing I'll mention is a lot of the times we'll have clients who want to put down a larger down payment if they have the extra cash, and they'll say like, oh, hey, I'll put 10% down, I'll put 15% down. Definitely check with your lender, because there's a lot of circumstances where it actually makes sense to put the minimum amount down and take that money and either do a rate buy down is usually the best option. You can even just take that money and put it into, stocks, investments, things like that. But the difference that the price you're paying monthly will be if you have a higher down payment is really not that much until you get to a certain threshold where you no longer have the private mortgage insurance. That'll save you a couple $100. But typically I'd say like do the minimum amount down. If you have extra cash, do a rate buy down.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's a good call. I just think it just depends on everybody's situation. That's different, right? and what you want to do. Like if you have cash flowing in your life right now, then like real estate's a great place to put it. But a lot of financial planners would tell you, hey, go earn 8% in the market or whatever. So it's like I've heard both trains of thought, but I like not like your $400,000 mortgage, you're going to end up spending like, $750,000 over the term of that loan if you keep it the whole time, right? So if you can save yourself $350,000 over time by, paying it down faster, then I think that it's an old school train of thought, but I think there's value in it, in my opinion, just because I'm a little more conservative as far as that goes. But I think that other people would say, nah, just pay the minimum and go after interest elsewhere, right? And investments and stuff. And that's great when the investments work out. It really is. Real estate's one of the safest things you can do. If you've ever had an investment go sideways, then you learn really quickly to get a little more conservative sometimes. So
take all your money and put it in Bitcoin. It's going to the moon. There's no way you could lose money.
No, I just rack up credit card debt. It's so much easier.
I will say one
Live
thing
in
to
debt,
mention.
die with zero.
Can't take it with you.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. But I think it's important to understand too, like there's so many different programs out there. You have like if you're military, you got VA, which is like 0% down in most cases. You can put in as much down on a VA loan as you want, but FHA is typically going to be like that 3.5%, sometimes 5%, sometimes will require a little bit more depending. And then you have your conventional, which is you can get 3.5% on conventional as well. But
3% typically, yeah.
Or 3%, yeah. That's kind of like your minimum. So like what Jackson was saying, sometimes it's better to just take the minimum and then put the money towards something else like a rate buy down or something like that. Because honestly, I think it's important for people to know just because you have more cash to put towards your down payment doesn't necessarily mean it's going to save you a ton of money in the long run. Because when you put down, let's say you've got $10,000 just for round numbers, that's actually not a really good down payment, but an additional $5,000 towards your down payment is only going to affect your mortgage payment a month by like a couple bucks. Mm-hmm. It's really not that significant at all. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to ask the questions of like, okay, if I actually put down this much more, what's it going to look like on my monthly? Or how's that going to affect my mortgage? Most of the time that money can be allocated to a better opportunity like a rate buy down that'll save you a ton more. So just because you have all this cash to put towards a down payment doesn't necessarily mean you should use all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll be devil's advocate again here. So there's mortgage insurance too, right? So if you have 20% down, then you don't have to pay any mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance or private mortgage insurance, PMI is what the lenders call it, is basically an insurance policy for the lenders on foreclosure. So they're basically making sure that if they get foreclosed on, they have an insurance policy to take care of the costs of foreclosure, protecting themselves. And we saw that come up a ton during the Great Recession, right? With all the people that had to default on their loans. And so if you have less than 20% down, you're paying mortgage insurance, unless you're VA. VA doesn't have mortgage insurance. They give that veteran benefit, right? But that PMI can cost you, between $200 and $400 a month on a loan. So that's like I said earlier, $400 is like a whole percentage of interest rate, right? So that's what you have to ask yourself is like, if I have the opportunity, does it make sense to put 20% down? Or does it make sense to put 5% down and pay basically 1% higher in rate, right? Because you're paying PMI. That's the way I look at it. But it's one of those things where most people don't have that opportunity, and then they just don't buy a house because they don't want to pay mortgage insurance, and then appreciation could run away from you, and then you can't afford a home in this market. So I don't think it's worth holding off on buying a home if you don't have that down payment. But if you have the down payment, I'd put it into the house all day long, in my opinion. That's just where I'm going with it.
But wouldn't adjusting the rate be putting it into the house?
Yeah.
That too.
To that point, I think we get a lot of people who say like, oh, well, I don't want to buy yet because I'm going to save up some more for my down payment.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, just like you said, the market's going to appreciate, prices are going to go up. And 6 months from then, when you have saved a down payment, you're actually going to end up paying more monthly, even with that larger down payment. So, and it's not always the right option for everybody, but in certain scenarios, you can get down payment assistance where the down payment gets wrapped into the loan. And if you are, well qualified, making good income, but you might not have a lot of cash on hand, that is an option for some people to be able to buy as well.
Yeah, I think best advice we give most buyers is if you can afford to buy a home right now, it's much better to do it now than wait, regardless of whether you're waiting for more money on a down payment or not. If you can afford to do it now, just do it. I think so. Talking about down payment, that's a big one, but then you got to keep in mind property taxes and insurance. Well, a lot of people don't. Well, at least most new buyers don't understand is that your mortgage payment isn't just principal and interest. Typically, your mortgage payment includes principal, interest, property taxes, and insurance. And usually property taxes are taken out of an escrow account as well as insurance and things like that. So it's all kind of bundled into one account. But the property taxes, especially here in Colorado, and insurance, I should say, both are have been interesting just in the past 5 years. Haven't been as friendly to residents here, especially with all the hail and the wind. I just changed my insurance policy. This is wild to me. And I knew that this was going to happen eventually. I'm sad that it just happened, but I had to switch my homeowners insurance. Oh, sweet.
And score. Got our own mics now.
Get him out of here. So the sad part was, so I had a great insurance policy that covered my roof for like $1,500 as my deductible. Had really great rate on it, but unfortunately it was up for renewal, and that deductible would cost me another $6,000 a year for that same insurance policy. And so I'm like, I'm not doing that because it just doesn't make sense financially for me. So now my insurance only went up $1,500 a year, but my deductible for wind and hail alone is like $12,000.
Wow. That's a little scary.
Yeah, it's beyond scary because we have a lot of hail and a lot of wind. I have a really good roof. Like I've got the UL4 shingles and everything, and it's great. And it's only like a couple years old, but that's the only reason I did that. Otherwise, you're stuck with either your mortgage going way up because you had to spend another $6,000 a year, or you just kind of roll the dice a little bit and hope that the weather pans out. And especially in a dry year like this, you just, I don't know. It's just one of those
kind of look at
crapshoots you have to take.
Costs, right? And
yeah.
It's probably like 6 years over time that you would have spent, on a different policy with the lower deductible. But a lot of insurance companies aren't even offering the lowest deductibles like they used to.
No.
Used to be $1,000 deductible all day long. Now it's like $5,000 is a good deductible.
My insurance broker, Jared, gave me the option. He's like, you can do this and they'll allow you to do it, but you're going to spend a ton more every year.
Yeah. The other thing that they do, Jared's company, they have like a wind and hail second policy that you can put on, where you could have like a super high deductible on your first policy, but then it's like a rider policy that's just like $25,000 cash that they'll give you for a wind and hail event without a deductible. So, or I think it's a smaller deductible, but it's
probably based off the company though that you're using, I'm assuming, or is it from Jared's broker?
It's a second company, but it's
brokered
out by them. Yeah. And I don't want to speak for him, but I know it's like, it's making sense for some people to do it.
We'll have him on.
Yeah. That'd be good. Definitely. Cool. Well, my insurance or my property taxes were another thing that just soared on me. Like in 2023, if you own property in Denver, you probably saw your property taxes go up like 50% that year, which is crazy. And then they kind of came back though. Like the next year, mine went up like my assessed value went up like $250,000 in 1 year. It was insane. And then it came back like $118,000 the next year. So almost half of it came back to me. But my taxes went up, quite a bit, and that changed our monthly payment. We had to up our payment to keep the lender happy and keep our escrow account stacked. And so it's something everyone's dealing with right now with rising costs of insurance and property tax across the board in Denver, especially right now. And these hail and fire events, they just don't help. and we're having more
Tornadoes in
and more.
Highlands Ranch.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
New ones.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, like the never
Never happened. Yeah.
type events are happening.
Yeah.
So crazy. So there's another number that buyers get really focused on, hyper focused on. And it kind of drives me crazy a little bit because price per square foot is what we're talking about, right? And I know it's important. I get it. But it doesn't factor in.
Do you want me to play devil's advocate on this one?
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Let me make my point first. Okay, so as you look at you hyper focused on price per square foot, let's say you have a cookie cutter neighborhood and every house is the same across the board, and I get my house for $200 per square foot, and the other neighbor sold for $240 per square foot, right? Then I'm feeling pretty good about my purchase. That's great. But what it doesn't factor in is one, the most important thing in real estate, which is location.
Yep.
Okay, so that's number one. And number two, the second most important thing in real estate is also location. And then number three, you get where I'm going, right? Like location. Like that's so important. Where you live, and anybody that's lived in a home that backs to a super busy road, they get tired of it over time, and they just want to leave. And when they go to sell, any improvements that they've done, they don't get a lot of return on because their location is still poor. But price per square footage, does it factor that in? No, it doesn't. It completely ignores it, right? And so buyers who are only focused on that, you're going to get yourself a home with a really crappy location. That's what you're going to get. And so I've had that happen before, and I've tried to coach people, and they just don't listen because all they care about is, I want to get something 200 or less, price per square foot. And it's always the deal seekers. It's the Walmart shoppers that want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but enjoy living on C470. That's all I have to say. All right, go ahead.
No, I'm good. That was really good. However, I do have a question because when it comes so we've had some interesting appraisals happen lately. Do you think these appraisers are focusing more on price per square foot than they are location?
Yes. Appraisers get fixated on this too sometimes. It's annoying.
It's been a freaking nightmare this year alone with some of these appraisals that we've gotten.
Already 5 on our team this calendar year.
And we've had a couple clients that just ate it.
However many years.
2 years before that, we haven't had one.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
So.
Which, for me, I'm like, okay, it's nice because it keeps affordability somewhat level, right? But at the same time, you're screwing over buyers or sellers, whatever way you want to put it, and making this transaction a lot harder over $5,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it's that close, it's like, wow, Mr. Appraiser.
Some are different, right? Some are much more. We had one that came in 35,000 low.
If it's $5,000, it's like the market that well.
You're pinpointing that one
within $5,000. You're better than the market in that regard.
I'm just saying, appraisers, some appraisers, these guys need to be careful because AI is out there. I'm not advocating for it, but that is one thing that could potentially be completely taken over by AI, just because you can create models that'll give you a pretty accurate appraisal. But
I think if there's anything that could be replaced by technology very quickly, that's it in the real estate space. And I've got lots of friends who are appraisers, and they're awesome people. They do good work with what they do. And most 9 out of 10 are really good, and they really see the big picture. But there's that 1 out of 10 that just really thinks they know more than the market, and they try to prove it basically. And they're kind of argumentative, it seems like, and it's tough when we meet those ones. We kind of know okay, this could be a mystery. This is an adventure.
I feel like we needed to get this off our chest, even though it had nothing to do with this actual podcast. But appraisers have been interesting this year. But I think that price per square foot has been a huge factor in that.
Yeah.
And they use price per square foot in different parts of the country as a pretty accurate measurement. Like in New York City, where everything is in the city, unless you're right, overlooking Central Park or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Then it might be a little bit different. But in those more urban areas, price per square foot might work a little bit better.
Yeah.
But when you're backing to open space or a lake or whatever, compared to the one across the street that's back into the highway, that doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Period. And it's the location.
Yeah, those are 2 very different homes. Even if they're cookie cutter identical
Yeah.
visually, they're night and day.
Living in it's different.
Totally.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
just sold a place that was back into about 50 feet of open space and mountain views. Really cool location. Didn't have neighbors right behind you. And the appraisal came in $14,000 low on this house. And I looked through the appraisal, and the appraiser didn't give an adjustment based on that location compared to any other all the other comps, which were just backing to neighbors. So there was no adjustment for location. And then one of the comps was backing to E470 toll road, and there was no negative adjustment for that at all, right? So like, you're telling me you can't make up $14,000 in a location adjustment for something that's backing to an open space in Greenbelt? Like, that's crazy. You know, so those are the types of things that just really rile me up and get me
We can tell.
Yeah. Wound up.
Yep.
And we go to bat for our sellers, right? In those situations, we want to protect their value and protect their equity.
We're passionate because we care.
And there's two trains of thought. A home is worth what a buyer is willing to pay for it is one train of thought. And that's the train of thought that I'm on. And then a home is worth whatever the cap of the neighborhood and the price per square foot is, right? And so that's where appraisers can really influence things sometimes. And you know, the crappy part of that is if you're a homeowner who lives in a neighborhood, you've done everything you can to update your home and make it look great because you really care about where you live, and you put real money into that thinking that you're going to get it out, and then you go sell it for a great price, and then the appraiser comes in and chops off 50 grand because the other neighbors haven't updated like you have. So it's not your fault, it's your neighbor's fault that you just lost 50 grand of money that you just spent on your home to update your home. Does that make sense to anybody here? I don't understand why that's the case. If a buyer's willing to pay money for that home and they want to live there because it's awesome and the homeowners did a great job, like why can't a homeowner just get rewarded for updating their home really nicely?
Yeah.
If someone loves it, if they're digging what they did. So that doesn't happen in any other industry, you guys. I can't think of any, like you go through the grocery store, right? And there's like one just amazing peanut butter that you just love, you know, like, there's no example that you could put that even like remotely compares to what we just talked about. It's kind of senseless in my opinion, but
Why don't you take a few breaths? And do you want me to close this out, or are you going to be good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why don't you check your pulse?
I need to recover.
You're getting a little old, so that you got to watch that blood pressure.
Getting riled up here.
So listen, there's a bunch of numbers out there that matter. These, I think, these 5 that we talked about are extremely important. So as a first-time home buyer, even second, third, fourth, fifth home buyer, it's good to be reminded or taught about these because they will help you. And understanding what these mean just give you that much more education to empower yourself to buy down the future. So if you have any questions or need help or assistance in real estate, we're your team. We're the ones there for you. We know Denver like the back of our hand. So we hope to catch you guys on the next one.
We got you.